When I consider how my light is spent, ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent, which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve therewith my Maker, and present my true account, lest he returning chide. Doth God exact day labour, light denied, I fondly ask? But patience, to prevent that murmur, soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly, thousands at his bidding speed, and post o'er land and ocean without rest. They also serve, who only stand and wait.
What I like about this poem is that there are two tones. And the first tone is filled with despair, and he kind of talks about how he's grieving with the idea of his blindness. From line 1 to line 6, I feel like he's arguing with God, like, God, you gave me this talent to write, and you're taking away my eyesight, and you expect me to do things for you, but how can I when you took away my only talent? And I think that's what he's describing. I think he's kind of, at first, resentment to God, and he just wants to know why he has to live this way, and he's kind of in self-pity in between these lines. But what I like about this poem is that after he gets to line 7, doth God exact day labor light denied, he's asking God, do you really expect me to do physical labor? Do you expect me to do anything? Because I can't see. And I think the minute he asks himself that, I think he slowly starts to realize that God doesn't expect him to do that. God doesn't expect him to write. God just expects him to follow God and to have faith and to believe. The last passage, or the last line, they also serve who only stand and wait. I think that's what he's talking about. God also serves people who wait. And when he means by wait, he means by people who pray, who have faith. And what I like about this poem so much is that anyone can really relate to it. Not everybody goes through blindness, but we all go through similar things, such as darkness. And when people think of darkness, we think of a hard time that we're overcoming. And just like Milton was trying to overcome his blindness and trying to cope with it, I went through a phase in my life. I have bipolar disorder, and when I wasn't diagnosed with it, that was probably one of the most difficult things I had to overcome in my life. So just like Milton, I knew I had this illness. I knew, just like he knew his blindness was coming, I knew I had this illness, and I had to do something.
When I first read John Milton's When I Consider How My Light Is Spent, I didn't look at it the way that John Milton actually wrote it. I looked at it from my perspective, based on things that I've gone through and my past. So I kind of related to it in a different way than I think he intended it to be. He talks about how his light is spent. I looked at it as my life instead of the light. The light was more the life that I had with my child. And when he talks about being in the dark, I felt like I was in the dark when I was in an abusive relationship, and I felt trapped, and I felt like my life had no purpose, no meaning. I was useless, and it was just a very bad relationship, and that was my darkness. Him having a sort of conflict with God, and I found myself really struggling with my situation and asking God, why is this happening? And I'd rather sometimes not be living than to be in this darkness. So I definitely related to this poem in a different sense, by looking at it through different eyes, through a different perspective. And it just goes to show how every person could interpret a poem differently depending on their circumstances and their life and their struggles.